We have a '04 Ford Escape with a bad lower control arm. I'm pretty sure both lower control arms are bad, but the customer doesn't want to pay to get the other side done, so we're only doing one side. First, let's go ahead and get the lug nuts loose before we even try to lift up the truck. And here I'm placing this bottle here to demonstrate how far out the tire is moving, because of a bad lower control arm. So as I lift up the truck, you're going to see it scoot in, and that gives you a good idea of how far out this tire is traveling. With a bad lower control arm, the bottom of the tire is going to stick out farther, causing too much negative camber. So you're going to have a wear pattern on your tire that looks similar to this one. Don't forget to use penetrating oil wherever you can. Now, I was being pretty gentle on this bolt right here. I wasn't trying to hit it as hard as I can because I didn't want to damage the threads. But later on, I found out that the new lower control arm comes with a new bolt. So you may want to check yours before you start removing this bolt. If you do have a new one, you really don't have to be as careful as I was trying to remove it. After you run this bolt out, it's going to be stuck in there because of the tension on the lower control arm. So what I use is the floor jack to lift up the lower control arm, which would be from right here. So I lifted up the lower control arm and it released the tension, and I was able to get that 21mm bolt out. Of the 3 bolts that you have to remove, this one is going to be the most difficult. So just to make it easy on yourself, go ahead and remove that plastic that's right in front of the bolt. I ended up removing it later on. The power of my impact gun wasn't enough to get this out, so I had to use a breaker bar to loosen it up first. The lower control arm isn't just going to fall out, so here I am using a pry bar to get that extra leverage to separate the lower control arm from the subframe. So now we want to separate these jaws on the bottom of the knuckle, so let the lower control arm loose. So you could either use a chisel like I'm using here, you could use a standard or a flathead screwdriver as well. You can also add a little bit of penetrating oil just to help you. And what I found that works best is just to get your BFH and just go to town on it. Eventually it'll drop right out. Cleaning all the bolts will make installation that much easier, and you could get a bit more accurate torque specs when it comes down to tightening everything. So it took some time to find the best method to install the lower control arm, and the best one I could come up with is to install this bolt first. So you want to run it in, but don't tighten it down completely, you just want it to stay in place. And the next one to install would be the ball joint right at the knuckle. So go ahead and get this one in second. And the last one remaining would be this one right here. And an easy way to do this is to use your floor jack to lift it up, and then you could shove it into place and run your bolt in. And now that you have all three bolts in, it's time to go ahead and torque everything down to spec. For this bolt, try to load the suspension or use the floor jack to push up on lower control arm as you tighten it. And any nuts or bolts that you took off to get the plastic off, just go ahead and put everything back into place. And that's pretty much it for lower control arm. So if the video helped you, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. Thanks for watching.